Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for watching. I've been wanting to do a video on this for quite some time and didn't have the time, but now I have the time, so let's get to it. Over the years, I've been noticing that, when people join the Swimbait forums, Facebook pages, or, IG pages, whatever, pages where they talk about swimbaiting. And what I mean by swimbaiting, I'm using the colloquial term for big bait, and I'm talking about specifically for striped bass, largemouth, and smallmouth bass. So, you're throwing things like this, 10-inch glides, 8-inch or bigger trout imitations, big crawlers, rats, things like that. So that's what I mean by swim baiting. Well, I should say first, the people who don't have much experience and join and then start asking questions. One of the main questions they ask is, what reel should I get? What's a good reel to start off with? And one of the reels that I never see suggested is actually this guy. The Garcia C3. And it's really a shame because it's a pretty good reel. Well, not pretty good, it's a very good reel. Very good for swim bait application. This thing has lots of history. It's been around for a few decades. I think the original Ambassador came out in the 1950s. If you were to look at an original 1950s Ambassador, it'd look a lot like this one. It is a rocket. And it looks like these reels here are different. The reality is they're pretty much the same reel. There's some differences here. These are the bigger ones. And, there's the C4, those two, and these are rockets, and there's the C3. But they're essentially the same reel. There's some minor differences, but they're essentially the same reel. So, yeah, so what I've noticed when, people join these forums or Facebook pages or, whatever, they ask, what's a good starting reel? Like, what reel should I get? And yeah, this reel, for whatever reason, never seems to get mentioned. I don't know if it's because it's looked because it's your grandpa's reel, because it's been around for so long, so it looks like a vintage reel, or is it maybe it doesn't have the cool factor? I really don't know. Some of the reels that I see, suggested all the time, or probably the one I see the most suggested, the Shimano Cardiff, which is a great reel. Nothing against that reel. It's a great reel. If you want to go ahead and get that reel, it's a great reel. But if you're looking at something else, or maybe for whatever reason you don't want to get that, there is another option in the round reel market, and it's the C3. Similarly priced, similar size. If you get the 5500, these are the 5500s right here, and then those are the bigger versions, the 6500s. This is pretty much the same size. It's not the same dimensions, but the spool, the amount of line it holds, it's very similar to about a 300 size reel if we're talking about low profile. But I just wanted to mention this reel because it's just another option, especially for the beginners who don't want to drop a lot of money, just want something that gets the job done, or if you're just on a budget and you just don't have the money to be spending on some of these fancier reels, which can get pretty expensive. You start looking into the JDM market, you're looking at $400, $500, $600. Some of the low profile reels, they can start off at $200, $250 and up. So it's definitely another option. So what makes the C3 a good reel for the swim baiting application? Well, a lot of things. But before I get into that, I just want to, say a quick disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with Abu Garcia in any way, shape, or form. I paid all of these reels here were paid out of, from my pocket. So, don't have any hidden agendas here. I'm not trying to push a certain brand on you guys or anything like that. All I'm doing here is just giving you guys another option that, I rarely see discussed. I never see this reel discussed on any of the swim bait forums. I mean, it's really rare. You might see one guy here and there. And if you do see it suggested, it's probably me, to be honest. I'm always suggesting it to people, especially the guys who are just getting into it, or the guys who are on a budget, or sometimes guys are just looking for something else. Okay, so what makes this reel so good? What makes it so great? Well, it's been made since the 1950s. 51 or 52, I believe the original Ambassador came out. And not much has changed on it. You know, the design is fairly similar. You know, things have been changed here and there. Things have been tweaked. Things have been refined. You know, just like with any other thing. Like, for example, I compare this to a Jeep Wrangler. I call this the Jeep Wrangler of round reels. The reason for that is because it's been made, you know, the Wrangler's been made since the 40s. And, you know, it's still made today. And not much has changed on that vehicle. I mean, they've been making it for decades. And yes, of course, there's changes. But, you know, overall, it's, if you put a modern, you know, 2021 or 2022 Jeep next to, you know, the original World War II one, I mean, you can tell that they're the same car in essence. You know, a lot of the things are the same. What does that tell me about something? Well, it tells me that the design works. This reel's been made, again, I said, for decades, so the design works. It's a simple and robust design. It has great performance. It's easy to repair. It's easy to maintain. There's not much you can't fix on these things because their design is so simple. You know, if anything breaks on these things, you can just replace it. You know, a lot of times, especially with the modern reels, something breaks on them and, you know, it's not worth it to get it repaired. It costs almost as much as the reel. Well, that's not the case with these guys. You know, if I break a gear, if I break a handle, if I break bearings or, you know, whatever I break on this thing, you know, you're looking at the most $20 to fix it. And because they're so simple to repair and maintain, you can do it yourself. So another thing is, not only are these reels easy to repair, not only are they easy to maintain, not only are they easy to upgrade, the parts are plentiful. So a lot of times there are reels, you know, designs in the past that have come and gone, and they are easy to repair. They're also easy to maintain. They're easy to upgrade, but there's no parts for them. You can't find the parts, or the parts are super expensive. That's another cool thing about these reels is you can upgrade this the line guide, the worm gear, the pawl, the handle. You know, each piece might cost you $5 to $20 depending on what it is. I know you can buy really expensive handles. You can go nuts. I mean, you can buy the most expensive bearings. You can buy the most expensive gears. You can buy the most, but you don't have to, right? You can go with you know, mid-tier stuff. You can go with the highest end. You know, it just depends on you. That's what's cool about it. That's what I like about these reels is they're very you can make them exactly how you want, pretty much. Another cool thing about these reels is the parts are interchangeable between most of them. So for example, you know how they make, for example, like let's say going back to that Jeep analogy, from 2007 to 2018, that was the Jeep JK. Parts are interchangeable between those cars. Like 98% of the parts are interchangeable. So every certain amount of years, there's some design changes and upgrades. And as long as you're within that, you know, that bracket between whatever it may be, the parts are usually interchangeable. So for example, with these reels, they had a makeover, I think it was back in 2013. They started adding carbon fiber drags to them. They started bending the handles in, and then the star wheels in, and you know, things, minor changes like that. They did do some changes, and I believe that was 2013 to present day. So from 2013 to present day, all of these parts are interchangeable. So for example, I can put the gears from this one into the C4, and if you know anything about these Abu reels, you know the C4 comes with 6.3.1 gearing, and this is 5.3.1 gearing. You know, faster gearing, and I mean, you don't have to buy a C4 to get 6.3.1 or vice versa, right? You don't have to get this one to get 5.3.1. You can choose whatever reel you want. Again, go on any of the sites and for like $10, buy the gears that you want. And you could even get them in stainless steel. There's a lot of kits made for these things, a lot of upgrade kits. There's kits where you can add extra bearings to the line guide to make your reel faster. You can change the pawl, the worm gear, you can get ceramic, all types of handles. You can upgrade literally anything on these things. And again, These things are, I mean, they're built like tanks. I've never had one break on me, but if something were to break on you, you just fix it. If you take care of these things, they'll last you for life. They'll outlast you, actually. There's lots of stories of, kids using their grandpa's reels, and the reels are fine. They just clean them up a little bit, lube them up, and they're ready to go. So yeah, what do they cost? They're not very expensive reels, especially when we're talking about swim baits. Some of these reels can start off at $200+ and you can start off a little pricier too with these reels. So for example, these are the Pro Rockets. It's a Pro Rocket version of the Ambassador. It has two tensioning knobs to center your spool. It has more bearings, I believe, than the C3. It already comes with more bearings. Just the side plates. I'm not sure if they're a different aluminum. I doubt it. I think they're the same type of aluminum, but they're like ridged. And then they have this piece right here, which it just the reel feels a lot more solid, and because it has more, because you can tweak it a little more, it can cast a little further. This reel starts at $200, which is, it's a considerable amount more than this one. And if you want to go ahead and get this one, fine. I mean, I prefer these ones. They look cooler. I guess it's more of an aesthetic thing for me, I guess. I also do prefer the flat plate. If you look at right here, it's more flat, whereas this is more rounded, which you would think I want the rounded one more, but actually this flat plate, for some reason, my hand just feels better in my hand. But let's say you're fine with this one, right? You can literally do all the upgrades to this that you did to this. And that's what I've done. I mean, all of these reels pretty much have the same upgrades. They have similar handles, similar star wheels. The bearings, I've upgraded all their bearings to ceramic bearings. The pawls, the line guides, they're all the same. Obviously, it doesn't have the second tensioning knob here, but they're pretty much the same. This reel here will cast almost as far as this one, and I believe the only reason is because you can tweak it a little more here, and you can add a bearing here too, which I haven't done that, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but it's a different talk. But you're talking, if you're a really good caster, you can get similar distance out of both of these reels. But we're talking about, $60 to $80 in starting price difference. So if you want to save yourself $60, $80, start off with this thing. You can slowly upgrade it. That's the other cool thing about it, is that you don't have to upgrade it all at once. You can upgrade your handle, and then maybe a month later, upgrade the bearings. Maybe a little later, upgrade the pawl. You can do it step by step, and you don't have to drop all the money all at once. And I guess another question, since I've been talking about upgrades for quite a while now, is like, well, that sounds kind of like a lot of money. You start upgrading bearings, handles, and all this stuff. Why not just buy a more expensive reel? Well, if you want to upgrade a more expensive reel, you can definitely do that. You won't be able to upgrade as easily as this, and that's just fact. They don't make all the kits and all the parts. You could still do it. There's guys who do custom work, and I mean, that's going to cost you. But also you have a lower starting price point. So this guy, was about $120, brand new, $120. That's pretty good. If you throw another $100 into this, throw some new bearings in there, replace this, bigger handle, that's $220. You have a reel that, in my opinion, in terms of casting, I mean, it's hard to find a reel that will outcast a tuned Abu. And I don't think it's just my opinion. I mean, there's a reason. If you Google it, there's a reason why for a long, long time, most of the distance casting records were done on an Abu. They were done on some kind of round Abu, going back all the way to the 50s till now. If you look at all the records, you're going to see that a vast majority of them were done with this reel. For your money, you get a really good reel. You can upgrade it, and you can have one of the best casting reels out there. In my opinion, again, this is my opinion. A tuned C3, in the right hands well, I'll cast what are like the popular JDM reels, the like the Daiwa Ryoga or the Shimano Calcutta Conquest. You know, those reels are like $500-$600. Super tune one of those, super tune one of these, you might get more distance out of that JDM reel. You might get the same distance, but in my opinion, you're probably going to get more distance from the tuned Abu. The design, there's a reason why this design has, you know, survived the test of time. I mean, there's a reason, and it's because it's simple. It just gets the job done. I mean, it launches things out. It just launches things out. You know, this reel is pretty known in I would say in every circle of fishing besides the swimbait world. It's very popular for surf casting. A lot of the guys in the East Coast that fish for striper, they throw this. They usually remove the line guide. A lot of them remove the line guide because if you take this off, you can get even more distance. They add mags to the side, magnet control, so they can tweak this reel to the T, man. They can get it just right. They can launch it. They don't even have to thumb it. This reel is very well known in all other types of fishing. You know, everyone. You know, I mentioned the surf caster guys in the East Coast for striper. You know, they use it for long distance casting to get over those waves. You know, get to where the fish are. In the catfish world, you know, these are probably the most known catfish reels of all time. The 6500 size, and the only difference between these and these is that it's just a wider spool. It's pretty much the same thing. Then all the internals are the same. All the parts are interchangeable between all of these, and then this has a clicker. So then you can throw some live bait on there, whatever. But yeah, I don't think there's a catfish guy that does not know about the Ambassador 6500s. You know, the guys in Texas, they love those reels for the red drum. People love these reels for salmon. They love them for pike. I mean, I even use this guy here. This is my, I guess you could call it my beater reel. I use this in salt water, and I just drag this through everything. I use this for calico. You know, I don't get to fish the ocean a lot, but when I do, I'll throw this, and it handles calicos. And if any of you have ever fished for calico bass, I mean, I don't know the exact ratio, but they feel like a largemouth on steroids. They're just really strong fish. This reel handles it like nothing. So yeah, if you're worried about these reels, like, oh, you know, but they're not going to handle, you know, how do these reels handle big fish? These reels regularly bring in, you know, catfish that are 100 pounds plus, flatheads 60, 70, 80 pounds, you know, stripers that are 50 pounds, bluefish, red drum, you know, fish that are much, much stronger than, you know, your average largemouth bass. So, you know, you don't have to worry about that. These things they'll get it done. And how do these compare to other reels, I guess, is another question, a pretty good question. They compare very well. So for example, we've tried other reels. So this is one of my other reels right here. This is a very known swimbait reel. So if this is the Shimano Curado 300, was a 301. I'm lefty. So this is one of those reels that gets talked about all the time, and it's actually it's a highly coveted reel, and they don't make them anymore. And you know, if you have a good one in decent condition like this one, I can jump on a forum and ask for about $300, and you know, it wouldn't be hard to get something close to that. You know, try asking for anything close to this, even if you've super tuned it, even if you dropped an extra $100 on it, you probably get laughed at. And with that being said, I mean, I prefer these reels over this one, and even my C3. And I still use this. This is a great reel. I'm not knocking. I'm not you know, trying to knock any other reels. You know, I mentioned the Cardiff earlier. I mentioned, you know, the Ryogas and the Calcuttas, and now I mentioned this one. I'm not knocking any of the reels. Those are all great reels. Great reels. This reel, I've had it for about, man, I want to say 4 years, 3-4 years, something like that. I've had these here for about 2 years, something like that as well. So yeah, they're great reels. We also had we've also tried the Daiwa Lexas, great reels. Actually, it's pretty cool. So this is Alex's bottom bouncing reel. This is what she uses for like the Huddlestons and reel praise. You know, that soft plastic, slow roll type thing for the bottom. She used to use a Lexa 300, the original dark silver colored. So she had that one for about a year, and it was, I don't know if they had an official recall on that or something, but I remember her clutch would re-engage. It would re-engage mid-cast. And one day she was, out throwing a 4-ounce Huddleston, and it re-engaged in the middle of the cast, and boom, that thing literally just exploded. We looked into getting it repaired, and to be honest, it just wasn't worth it. The reel was like $200, and it was like almost $100 to repair. It's like, nah, it's just not worth it. So ended up getting this for her. The cool thing though is that these round Abus have a, I believe it's a 7x4 mil drive shaft, which is the same size as a lot of Daiwas. So she was actually able to keep her handle from the Daiwa. So it lives on in the Abu. So that's pretty cool. Big handle. We've tried a bunch of other reels, and we prefer them for the most part. I mean, I do prefer this for some things, but yeah, I mean, if you look at any of our fishing videos, just look at the reel that's in our hands. It's gonna be one of these. You'll see the other ones here and there, but the vast majority of the time is gonna be one of these. So I've talked about what most of the pros of the reel. We went over the. They've been around forever. Parts are everywhere. They're cheap. The reels themselves are not that expensive. The parts are interchangeable between them. You can upgrade practically just about anything. You can replace just about anything. They're easy to take apart and reassemble. They're easy to clean. They're strong reels. They can handle some pretty big fish. What are the cons? To be honest, they don't really have many, especially for the Swimbait application that I use them for. They don't really have many cons, but I guess one con for some people would be that most of them come with this clutch design, which is this button here, as opposed to the more widely used thumb bar. So for some people that's a big deal, and for me, before I got the reels, I was a little hesitant as well. But to be honest, you get used to it really quick. It's not. It becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. And I switch between this style and the thumb bar. Like I showed you, I have my Curado and a few other reels that have the thumb bar, and it's you don't really notice a difference. But if this is something that's like a deal breaker for you, and you're like, no, man, I don't want that. What you can do, again, all the parts are interchangeable, as long as you're within the same year range. You can find one of these guys used on, on eBay or something, Craigslist. You can find yourself a C3, buy it for, $60, anywhere from 40 to like $85. You can find one of these things used in pretty decent condition. Then you can go and search for this type of cage, right? This cage with a thumb will fit this guy. So you can make yourself a C3 that has a thumb release instead of the button release. So that's pretty cool. So I guess another con that's not really to me, I don't think it's that much of a con. I mean, I guess, but it's the fact that the release is pretty weak. And what I mean by that is when you have, I would say starting around 2 ounces, let's say you have 2 ounces of pressure, you have your bait hanging from your rod, you're holding it, and you want to release the clutch, right? Well, you'll notice that it becomes very tough. And actually, if you have a certain amount of weight and you still press this, you can actually break this piece. It's a simple fix. I mean, the fix is so simple that I personally don't feel like it's a con. And all you have to do is, when you have a bait or lead or whatever tied on, you just back your spool up a bit, and then you release the clutch. So essentially you're holding your weight, you're holding the weight that's attached with your thumb. You pull back on the spool, you hold it, and you release the clutch. And that solves the issue. Instead of just releasing the clutch, just like that. Or, and that solves it. So it's kind of a con, not really. I've seen some people, the few times that the reel's mentioned, I've seen some people be like, well, I've broken my clutch release. And it's because they weren't pulling back on the spool, and all that weight was on the clutch, which, all you have to do is pull back, and that's it, fixes it. And, some people be like, oh, well, we're throwing heavy baits, we're throwing swim baits. It's like, well, I mentioned earlier that this reel it's the catfish reel. It's pretty much the catfish reel. And a lot of those guys are regularly throwing 4 to 8 ounces of lead, plus the other terminal tackle, and plus the bait. I mean, they're throwing 10 ounces, and they're using these reels. And all they do is back up the spool. That's it. So kind of a con, not really. But I just thought I'd mention that. So what are the upgrades that I've done to my reels, or to our reels? Because these are actually Alex's. I've done a decent amount of upgrades. So, well, actually, they all have pretty similar upgrades. They're like 98% the same. The first thing I did was change out the pawl. So you can't see it, but there's a little pawl inside this line guide that it goes into. It lines up with the worm gear here, and it goes in between the gearing here, and then that's what allows the line guide to move back and forth. I upgraded it to a ceramic pawl, which was like $2. So I just bought a whole bunch of them. So it's ceramic on metal, and that gives you less friction. Less friction gives you you can cast further. The second upgrade I did was well, actually, no, my bad. The first upgrade I did was the handle. The handles that come on these things are puny, and I prefer a big handle just to torque those fish in. So it was the handle, then it was the pawl, then it was the line guide. So the line guide was the third upgrade I did, and I replaced that with the old school chrome. It just, to me, it just feels better. It's a little heavier, but because of that, when you're throwing swim baits, you're throwing typically 1 to 7 ounces or even higher. You're throwing a lot of energy, you're throwing a lot of weight, so it can move this heavier pawl. And what I like, it can move this heavier line guide. And what I like about that is that once this gets moving, because of its heavier weight, it actually keeps moving. So that I like that. So it's like the sweet spot. It's a sweet spot in weight for this section, and it casts a lot further. Then I upgraded the spool bearings. I have ceramic bearings on there. And then I think lastly the drag. And the drags were upgraded on them, not all at once. They were actually upgraded here and there because not because anything's wrong with the stock drag. The stock drags actually were great. In 2013 they started using the carbon drags. It's just because they started running out. After 2 years of heavy use, the drags start to wear out and you need to replace them. So why not get a replacement that's slightly better? So I did the Carbon Tex drags, and I believe they all have Carbon Tex drags in them now. That's about it. And then again, that sounds expensive, but you can do just about all of the upgrades I mentioned for about $100 or less. And when you add $100 to any of these reels in upgrades, I think you get a lot more bang for your buck than if you do it to a more expensive reel. So, this reel we said earlier starts about $120. You add another $100 to it, and you have yourself a reel that's about $220, give or take. This thing will just, in terms of casting distance, it'll just annihilate just about any other reel. You can get yourself a $200 or $250 whatever reel, whatever low profile they sell right now, like the Tranks or the newer Lexus or whatever. Those are going to cost you about $250 right off the bat, brand new, zero upgrades. Get this thing for $120, throw another $100 into it, you're going to have a reel that just, you can't compare. And when I'm talking about, when I'm comparing the casting distance, you want to talk about drag power, you want to talk about torque or things like that, well, okay, that's something different. But as far as casting distance, these things are almost untouchable. All right, guys, so I think we'll end it here. Again, not trying to push anything, just showing you guys different options. I think these are great reels. They've been around for a while. There's a reason why they've been around for a while. They stood the test of time, simple design. I mean, they work. They just work. And they work great for the Swimbait application too. And it's kind of a shame that they're not really mentioned in that circle. But that's why I thought I'd make this video. You know, if you're a guy out there looking, you know, to get into the sport, you don't want to spend that much money, check out the C3s. Or if you're a guy who, you know, you've already experimented with other reels, you know, you've tried the Curados, you've tried the Calcuttas, you've tried the Lexus, you've tried the Lus, you've tried other stuff, and for whatever reason you're not happy, give one of these Rockets a shot. These things are awesome. Awesome. So yeah, I think we'll just end it there. This video is pretty long already, but yeah, thanks for watching. You know, give us a like, subscribe, you know, some comments. If you liked the video, if you didn't like the video, you know, just check out the channel. And tight lines, happy swim baiting. Have a good one, guys.